Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Four Corner Network. And we have our panelists with us. Ms. Shweta Nair is our RCA licensed clinical psychologist. Ms. Debelina Roy and Dimple Panchal are also RCA licensed clinical psychologists. And in previous episode, we have spoken about therapy, basically at larger lengths about therapy, basically how we can make therapy more affordable. What can be the barriers that are preventing people from seeking help? And in the last episode, we left off at why is therapy important in today's time? So what is it that has changed over the years? Previously, we would see probably about 60 years back or so, maybe 70 years back or so, we might have noted that there would not have been so much of talk about mental health, or there would not have been so much of availability of mental health professionals, and that has changed today. But previously, about let's say 50, 60 years back, there was a different society that we were living in, and today is a different society that we are living in. So in today's episode, we are going to generally talk about what is the difference and how people have changed over time, how human beings have evolved and changed over times, and how the society has changed at large. So, I would like to begin this episode firstly by talking about a very important factor in all of our lives, which is resilience. So, how does resilience play a role? Because when we say that 60 years back or 70 years back, people will argue that there was not much need for therapy, and there were no therapists that were available, and people were still doing fine. And now suddenly everybody wants to go for therapy, and nobody is feeling good, and everybody is having mental health problems. So why, what has happened, what has changed? In my personal opinion, I feel that resilience is something that plays a very important role, and I feel that that was something that probably was present at larger extents, maybe let's say 60 to 70 years back, and maybe that has over time dwindled, perhaps. But again, that is my professional experience, sorry, personal experience, and I would like to ask my panelists what are their thoughts about it. So, what do you guys think about generally what is resilience and why is it important in today's world?
I think resilience
Okay.
is the ability to change, ability to adapt to change. And it's really important because I think Stephen Hawking said that intelligence, uh, or something along the lines of how your adaptability to change implies your intelligence. So it is in a sense that how fast you can adapt to change, how you can cope during a stressful period is what makes you a wise and a stronger individual, and that is how you survive this world. That is what resilience is.
Yeah, I do agree with Shrita. And if you see the background, the histology, the history and the chronology also, and be it any biological being or in any social event, people who could adapt has existed. So, and
Yeah.
also, Darwin had said the survival of the fittest.
Yeah.
So technically, resilient is something I do agree with Shita also. So it is the ability to adapt and to recover from the upcoming challenges, the problems a person is facing. So it also shows the greater level of cognitive flexibility the person is possessing. So the greater flexible you are cognitively, it is much easier for you to keep on going through, sailing through this ever-changing world.
Yes, yes, yes. Both Debulina and Shrita, I agree with both of your point. It's like what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. In similar line, we are going that okay, you when you come out of those challenge, you have those additional skills with you, which helps you to survive and which helps you to bounce back in any certain situation in future. So that is, in my view, could be a resilience, like bouncing back from the any form of disaster situation, and even taking those skills ahead could be one of the factor which resilience or coping skills should. Right. All of you have given us very good insights. And just like Dimple has said, that resilience is basically the ability to bounce back and bounce back from stressors or any stressful situation that you're going through. So that basically is what resilience is. Why do you guys think resilience is important in today's world?
Okay, so I can go with this. So if you see nowadays in today's world, we have so much of help around. So I am not aware of a particular thing, I just Google it. If I don't have a particular thing at my home, I just either I will do Swiggy, I will do Zomato, Blinkit, etc., etc. So many other things. I don't even step out of my house. So this is how these things are actually. So everything is available at the tip of your finger. Now, when you have so much help around you, and when you don't have to put your brain in solving problems, the only way we are actually putting our brains is when we have faced a real life challenge. That time we get very clueless to okay, how I'm going to what I'm going to do about it now. Now it is not possible that if I'm not using my brain in rest of the day and only when the problem arises, my brain is going to help me and function very positively because it has also not been trained properly for years and years. So I think we human have stopped thinking. I think there are only certain people who are in higher studies, academics, research, and all who have the opportunity to think, to be creative, and also people in creative field. But apart from those certain domains, people from those certain domains, we have stopped thinking. We have stopped thinking and actually giving a thought around things. People do overthinking, but don't think things in different perspectives. So again, I'm going back to my previous concept. So this is actually reducing the flexibility. And eventually, when the flexibility is less, the resistance, like the resilience is less. So what we can do about it to train the brain to be more flexible, so not to depend too much on other people. Try to be independent because if you're not independent with a single problem, a person will feel devastated. Oh God, who will help me now? How I'm going to cope it now. So trying to be independent is one of the key factor I think to develop resilience, and it should start since childhood. A person will not be able to be a super duper resilient person if the person is in 20s, 30s, 40s. I think parents should start focusing as soon as the child is bit independent, the child can walk, and based on the age appropriate behavior, the parent should start giving the small independent exposure to the children. I think this is my take on this.
Another another compelling argument is that the reason why therapy did not exist perhaps 70 years ago, or maybe existed less than
Hmm.
it does today, is that back then the exposure was much different as compared to what it is like today. I think in the previous episode, Lipika mentioned that we constantly are consumers of information. We are constantly consuming media, social media, trends, and everything. Debolina also said that everything is at the tip of our fingers. We're exposed to new kinds of fashion, so it's a very natural reaction for a human to compare or want to be like that. So our aspirational self, the measure of aspiration, has changed in comparison to what it was 70 years ago. Perhaps 70 years ago, especially in context of a South Asian country like ours, our only survival was to make money and to give our family a better future. While that's still true today, we have additional goals that we want to be better than this person, or we want to be better than that person, or we want to gain these many followers, or we want to have this much money at the end of 40. I want to retire at 30 and everything.
Mhm.
So our life goals have changed based on how generation changes, and also social media and general exposure to the world has made it a lot more necessary for us to um, have to adapt to change, and therefore have resilience to begin with.
Yes, yes. So another few of the points that I see in today's time is economic adversity, the global level change which is happening, okay, global issues which are taking place, and overexposure of media, overexposure of all the information, even to a child, can also make them feel debilitating and overwhelming. Okay, so all this overexposure of the information can also hamper your resilience and coping skills. Even when we talk about, let's say you are moving from studies to you are going for a workplace, and there are too many things which are you are exposed to rather than a small task which would be given to you. You were not prepared in academics that this could be the world that you. So better information from, if I say, academics or from home. It can start, as Debolina mentioned, it can start from home, that yes, world could be like this. you have got an exposure from childhood in your academics setting, that this could be a world that you can be prepared for. It can help the child, or it can help the individual to become better at resilience or coping skills. Right. I agree with all of you. And, like Devlina has mentioned, that why is resilience important today? Like you guys have also said, because the world has changed and we have everything at our fingertips, right? Like we don't have to use our brains for anything. There is so much of news that is there, news from all over the world. Even when we don't go searching for the news might still come to us. So there is so much of overexposure, especially for young kids, like Dimple has said, and even for adolescents and young adults. There is so much of exposure to these things. That is why it's important for them to have resilience. That is why it's important for people to have resilience, so that they don't feel overwhelmed by these kind of small changes. Like Debelina has mentioned that you feel like eating a new dish, immediately you'll do Swiggy or Zomato. And what happens if one day you don't have your phone with you, or one day these apps are not working, and you want to try out a new dish, or you want to eat a new dish? You're just going to get overwhelmed because you don't know how to do it. Like you've never really thought in that direction, that okay, what can I make from the ingredients that are there at home, or how can I use the ingredients at home? Because all you've done is just clicked on the app and you get the food you want. So what is going to happen then? Now this also might trigger few people. This might become stressful for few people, even though it might seem a small thing. Now, if somebody has resilience, this will not mean something very big for them. They will be able to get over it. Somebody who has low resilience, this small incident can also trigger them off. So that is why it's important to, have resilient people today, and have resilient kids today, resilient individuals today. So on that note, how do you guys think resilience can build? According to me, let's say if you have a mindset that I want to grow, okay, rather than let's say mindset which is fixed, that it should be like this. Okay, there could be a new perspective that I can look into the same situation. There is no black and white. That can also help them to create themselves, that okay, I can also adapt. I can also accept the new situation which can come. So that could be one of the perspective that which child and adolescent can learn, and learning new skills. So if let's, as it was told by many researchers also, like if you expose a child with five language also during early childhood, they will adapt, they will learn. But if the similar thing, if you give it at a later stage, it will be very difficult for them to grasp. So in the early age, if they are exposed to good number of skills, it can also help them to get adapt very fast, and again bouncing back capacity can be increased. A problem solving skills could be exposed at early age, or even at older age. Let's say many people, or let's say one in a five people are nowadays are having problems of dementia, or it could be related to Alzheimer's. So at that stage also we need resilience. We need to bounce back at old age, after 60s also, after retirement. You may feel that what should I do? Okay, now my 9 to 5 is empty. So if you have learned different skills, equipped different skills at that age also, you would be more resilient towards the situation. At every life stage, there will be new change and you have to adapt. So this was my understanding, that how can we adapt and how can we change, and which can help us to become more resilient.
Mhm. I totally agree with Dimple, what you said. Totally agree with this. So the exposure should start from childhood and eventually, as per the age grows, a child, eventually an adolescence, and then eventually adult should get exposure to the age appropriate independence and learning new skill, as she said, is very important. So then only a person will be actually ready to face something they are not very sure of, because their past experience will teach them to, okay, when I had faced adversities in my past, I know okay, how to deal with them. I can use up those previously learned experience and skill to and modify them to handle the new incoming challenge. So this is the best way and one of the core way to develop resilience. Early exposure is the key factor and core factor to develop resilience.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And something that I want to add additionally to what Dibulina and Dimple have said is that children are not encouraged to go to multiple hobbies so that they become professional at that. They're encouraged to go to multiple hobbies because they can then learn new skills, develop discipline. Discipline is again a very crucial factor to build resilience.
Yes.
Obviously, naturally, when you compete with others, there is a chance that you might fail. How you deal with that failure, how what kind of lessons you learn, and how you reapply is again a very crucial part of building resilience. So it's not just about a hobby. It's not just about spending time, but it's also about the culture within that learning that particular hobby, the grit that you have,
Mm.
the that defines what resilience is. And when you do that in the childhood, you automatically that same discipline gets translated into your teenage, and then your adulthood, and then finally to your old age as well.
Right,
I do
right.
agree on this.
All of you have correctly mentioned that it should, how we can sort of build resilience. That should start from childhood, because that is how you're going to build it up. And like all of you have mentioned, that resilience will build in response to stress or in response to adversity. So if you're not facing small stress since childhood or since early time, your resilience is not going to build up. Because if you see something is stressful, your brain is going to think that, okay, how do I cope up with it? You will think of certain thinking patterns or something else. Then you cope up with that. Next time you face another situation, you will be in a better place to cope up. Like Debulina has said that, you can know that, okay, last time I faced this adversity, this is what I did. So this time I can do something similar, or maybe something else. But you will have that kind of confidence to go through that adversity. That is how resilience is going to build up. In contrast, if somebody has not seen adversity or stress, since an early age, they will have difficulties to adapting to stress later on. And now
So
again,
one point,
it's
Lipika, I wanted to add here is like, let's say, uh, what our parents have said that, okay, I have gone through this adversity. I don't want my children to go through this adversity.
Mm.
So what can we think about that? That should our children or should upcoming generation should go through that adversity, should see that lifestyle that they have gone through, or they should be, let's say, given everything so that they don't go through any difficulty in their life.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
I
I
Can
can
it
was
limit
take
the
a,
resilience?
I think
Yes.
it's a very good question. So
I
see
was
the parent,
actually yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
Lipika, you want to
Uh-huh.
go
Yeah, I
forward?
was actually, yeah, coming to that when I say stress, you have to see how much that stress is, okay? It shouldn't be too much of stress, right?
Mhm.
Like that child shouldn't be overburdened with stress. For example, there are children who are raised in extreme poverty, or children who lose both their parents at an early age. Now that is extreme levels of stress. We don't want that. We want very minimal sort of stress. For example, asking children to make their own food, for example, that is not stress for us, but that might be stress for them. Or maybe asking them to fold their own clothes, or do their own laundry, or do they make their own bed. So small things like this, we have to start giving them. Not extreme levels of stress, because that is going to overburden them, and that they're not prepared for that. So we start with small, and then once the resilience starts building to that, then later they will be equipped to deal with the big changes. This is what I feel.
Okay. Yeah, simple to that because the parents' generation, the timeline is different. Their childhood was different timeline. The stresses, the issues they had faced, adversities they had faced is different. And the child is not going to face the same adversities. Not possible. Timeline is again different. So the, as also Lipika said, because depending on the stress, whatever is incoming, one of the ways is not to overshield them. Okay, so I never let you know anything about everything. We have struggled so much, but we never, मतलब in Hindi they say ना एक आंच तक आने नहीं दिया. We never wanted you to feel the same thing. It is not good. The child might be entitled. कि, okay, I was always getting this much of protection. Include the child as a normal human being. Let the child know the problem they are facing. But given if it is too high as not appropriate for the child's age, then the child don't have to actively participate in it. But being aware of the situation is a good thing. And as also Lipika said, ki depending on the age, small thing can be introduced. So, which is stress like some new skill because a child won't understand what is stress. For them, there is a new challenge. I have to do it. Once you grow up, you actually understand this is stress because you have so many other things to do. So, based on that, just encouraging the child to learn new things. And if something very significant is going around in the family, the child is okay as per the age the child is aware or not, but not directly engaging or the child in that problem. But
Yes.
not what my main core point is not to overprotect the child because that will cause more harm than good thing.
And even we can understand the difference between what could be a traumatic or overwhelming, too much overwhelming
Yes.
for a child, a line. It is very subjective for each and every one of us what could be overwhelming and what could be a healthy exposure of stresses. As Lipika mentioned, that you tell them to cook, tell them to do daily chores. Even daily chores can increase their self esteem according to many longitudinal studies.
Yes.
So, yes, a moderate to mild level of stressors do help them to grow compared to severe level of stressors. It can deteriorate their performance if you give severe level of stressors compared to mild to moderate level.
Can I
Right.
make one more point that is very close to resilience is delayed gratification. And this is a generation that is so I think this generation, especially children, have it so easy in terms of study materials ho gaya, ya fir in terms of access to material things. The the more the sooner that they are gratified, that their needs are gratified, the lesser their resilience is. You grow up thinking that, oh, I just need to demand it and I will get it, and if I don't get it, what is the big deal? I'll pay money to get it. So that sort of an attitude is really harmful, because there is only so many things that you can buy with money. For some things in life you have to develop patience, and that patience come only if you have some sort of a you have experience with delayed gratification, because you know that there is meaning in in that waiting. There is some sort of learning opportunity in that waiting. So that's also something that parents can focus on.
I completely, absolutely agree with Shrita here. Delayed gratification is very important because that also, because when the child is waiting, so if the child has asked that, okay, give me a chocolate now. And if you say, no, no, wait for 10 minutes or do this work, then I'll give you. So that waiting puts the child in little bit of stress, right? And that is how the resilience is developing, that it's okay, I can do it, I can wait, it's all right. That is again how patience is also developing, and a lot of other core coping skills are developing. So that again is very important. And like all of us are saying that it's important to start it in childhood. Now, in continuation with what we are talking of, how do you guys think that therapy can be helpful, especially for children, when it comes to developing their resilience? Resilience.
I think parental training is something therapy can provide, because therapy only focusing children won't be as fruitful until and as a whole team is involved. That is the parents and even the other family members if possible. So this is the parental training, and also training the child what can be done, what cannot be done is one of the way to go with it.
So behavioral approach and even daily scheduling, even a simple thing in a therapy that we do, such as daily scheduling, even asking a person to understand that this is my responsibility at home, that this is how I do, how I can modify. So the scheduling will work very fine with them, even including any form of activities which could include a physical activity. It could be yoga, it could be anything. It can help them to regulate their emotion, regulate the need approaching behavior, that I can have patience. How will you have that patience? Or sometimes you have too much irritation. How to release those irritation in a healthy way? Their exercise scheduling and restructuring your thoughts can help them, and their therapies can work in a behavioral or cognitive approach to help a client to understand their needs, understand their emotion, and regulating it in a healthy way. Yes.
And
Therapy also brings into awareness a lot of your own limitations or your own mental blocks. So because in the process of talking, your therapist is able to sort out your thoughts or segregate your thoughts, so that will help you see things more clearly about why you're not motivated to do a certain thing, or where your problems are coming from. So that's also a great resource for helping build resilience. And everything said, having a supportive environment is extremely crucial. You can go to the best therapist, you could have had the best childhood, but if you don't have a supportive environment today as an adult, then that's definitely going to threaten your, um, life in general, or the kind of stress or the overwhelm that you're in on a daily basis. So that's definitely a non-negotiable that nothing can fix.
Right, right.
yes,
Also, I feel, in therapy, therapy will also teach you adaptive coping skills. especially if they're children or adolescents, pre-adolescents. So there, the therapist can help you understand that, okay, what is your coping skill currently? And is it good for you, not good for you? Is it adaptive, maladaptive? And how can you change it? Or what are the other adaptive skills that you can take up, adaptive coping that you can take up? And coping is a very big part of resilience. So if you are equipped with adaptive coping during your childhood, then obviously your resilience is going to develop and you can take on greater challenges throughout your life. So yeah, like you, all of you have correctly mentioned that therapy can be very important when it comes to helping the child to build resilience or helping the individual to build resilience. Right. So in this episode, we have spoken about what is resilience, why is it important, how do we build on resilience, and how a therapist can help to build that resilience even more. So I think it's better if we speak about another important a factor regarding resilience, which is parenting styles. Like Develina mentioned, that parent training is something again which is important because we have to teach the parents how do you train the children and what are the different ways in which you can adapt certain parenting styles. So I think this will be a good topic to talk about in our upcoming episode. So, on this note, I thank all of you for your time and for your wonderful insights into resilience. Whatever, if any of our viewers have any questions, they can write those questions in the comment section and we will reply to them. So, thank you all of you for your time. I will see all of you in the next episode.